the void. It's present in each one of our souls, and it can manifest in many different ways. Have you ever been aware of the void that's in you? Have you ever felt a dull ache, something that just wouldn't go away, that just stayed with you? Some days more aware, some days less aware, but it was always there, the void. And maybe you're even aware how it manifests for you. Maybe there's triggers. I know there's triggers for me. Maybe it's when you find yourself alone. Maybe it's when you see somebody else doing something that's so spectacular and you go, oh, the void. I've tried to fill this void over the years with so many things. Shopping, especially for shoes. Eating. Getting people's attention. And yet every time I did one of those things to fill that void, I always came back feeling sometimes even worse. There was still that ache. It just didn't go away. And to be honest, it almost intensified it. It almost made it worse. It almost came to my attention that it was getting bigger. I've told you in other videos in the front of this book, a book that led me, kind of initiated part of this journey, was a book by my good friend Joyce Meyer. She wrote a book called Eat the Cookie, Buy the Shoes. That title grabbed me. It gave me permission to do those two things, right? But in there, she talks about the void. So I'm going to read a quote from her. You can find this on page 42 in your book. People's possessions end up between them and God. And sadly, their possessions are more important to them than they should be. Those people stubbornly hang on to their ways and willfulness, refusing to submit to God. They end up sad, depressed, angry, and unable to maintain good relationships. They are forever looking for something to fill the void in their souls. I ask you today, are you a void filler? And can you identify the things that you've tried to fill your void with? You see, to be honest, I was never really aware of the void before God asked me to sit. I'll be totally truthful. I think I was doing the void filling, but I wasn't aware really what I was doing. And now that, this season that God brought me through the sitting, I was being obviously more still, more quiet. I was more aware of the ache. And so there was almost like this huge spotlight on it. And I could relate that to being really desperate for something. And in the book on page 43, I'm going to read to you what I wrote, where I say desperate for something. Seeking to fulfill our desperate is what some would call void filling, only to end up desperate again. Admitting that our desperate is humbling, and yet desperate and pride don't share the same bench. What was the real purpose of the void? Why is the void there? I live in this this mindset that we are purposeful, we are created purposeful, the things in our life are purposeful. So there's a reason. And so it got me to ask, okay, the void exists, so what's supposed to go in there? What's the one fit, for sure fit designed for the void? And in Proverbs, which has such great wisdom, what a man desires is unfailing love.